Campfire shadows. You ever get that feeling that the darkness is watching you, even before you realize it? I joined a weekend camping trip with a few friends. Nothing fancy, just a small forest clearing near a quiet lake, a place we thought was perfect for a fire and a little escape from the city. I've always loved camping, but truth be told, I get nervous when it's too quiet. Always have. It's that fear of something unseen. The sun was dipping low, casting long golden streaks across the undergrowth. Pine needles rustled in a gentle breeze, and the lake mirrored the sky like glass. My friends laughed as we set up tents, tossed a football, and roasted the first batch of marshmallows. Everything smelled of charred wood and the sweet tang of night air, and I allowed myself a deep breath, thinking maybe tonight would be just another ordinary escape. Then came the fire. Flames licked the logs, popping and hissing like tiny beasts, throwing our faces into sudden relief and shadow. At first, the shadows were playful, swaying with the flicker, but as the night thickened, they grew strange, taller, angular in ways nature had no right to be. One stretched so long across the ground it seemed to reach for the lake, yet no breeze stirred it. I caught myself glancing over my shoulder more often than necessary, feeling the weight of eyes in the dark that weren't ours. I laughed nervously when someone asked if I was okay, but my voice didn't convince me. There was a rhythm to the forest now, one that didn't belong, a silence beneath the rustle, like a pause before a scream. And I couldn't shake it. Something was waiting in that darkness, and it wasn't human. At first I laughed it off, blaming my imagination. My friends were joking, tossing sticks into the fire, telling ghost stories, trying to one-up each other with the most gruesome ending. But the shadows, they weren't just moving with the fire. They were alive, shifting, slithering, almost breathing. One shadow in particular caught my eye. It didn't flicker with the rest. It pulsed like something behind it was trying to push through. Every time I blinked, it changed shape, taller, closer. I rubbed my eyes, cursed the whiskey, and told myself it was just the flames playing tricks. But then it moved again, this time when the fire didn't. I stood to stretch, bones cracking in the cold. And that's when it happened. The shadow stood too, mirror perfect. Every tilt of my head, every roll of my shoulder, it copied me. I froze mid-motion, staring at the ground between us, my pulse hammering in my ears. My friends were still laughing, drunk on stories and smoke, but the sound felt far away now. Distant, hollow, like I was underwater. The shadow stopped mimicking me and just stood there, watching. Then slowly its mouth began to curl upward. It smiled, and the smile, God, wasn't mine. Something primal kicked in. I backed away, step by step, the soles of my shoes grinding against the dirt. The fire's warmth faded behind me, replaced by a chill so sharp it bit into my lungs. The air thickened. The forest, which only moments ago felt alive, suddenly seemed to hold its breath. The trees leaned in, dark silhouettes with crooked arms. The wind died. Even the fire shrank, as if afraid to feed the light any further. "Hey, you good?" one of my friends called out, his voice muffled, distant, like it came through static. I turned to answer, but when I looked back, my shadow was gone. Gone. I spun around, searching for it in the flicker of the flames, in the edge of the light. Then I saw it, standing among the trees, faint and far, the same outline, the same stance, watching me from beyond the circle of firelight. And for the first time that night, I realized, whatever that thing was, it wasn't following the fire anymore. It was following me. I ran, legs pumping, lungs burning, heart hammering like a drum in my chest. Out of the clearing, past the firelight, toward the car parked at the edge of the trees. But the shadow, it followed. Between the trunks, it flickered, thin as smoke one second, almost solid the next. It moved with a confidence no human could muster. Branches clawed at my arms, roots tripped me, but I didn't slow. My breath tore through my throat, ragged and raw. Every snap of a twig sounded like a gunshot. Every rustle in the underbrush made my skin crawl. Yet the shadow stayed with me, patient, relentless. It mirrored my fear, amplified it, fed on it. I risked a glance behind me. There it was, gliding over the dirt as if it were weightless, its grin wide and wrong. I stumbled over a hidden root, sprawling to the ground. Pain exploded in my shoulder, but there was no time to curse, no time to collect myself. And it was there, inches away, its face twisted in that impossible smile, eyes reflecting the faint glimmer of moonlight, dark and empty. My chest seized, my hands shaking as I clawed at the dirt, at leaves, at anything that might ground me back to reality. It whispered, no sound, no voice, but I heard it in my head. You can't hide. I froze for a heartbeat, torn between instinct and terror. Freeze and face it, or run blindly into the blackness beyond the trees. Every rational thought screamed to stay, to confront, to survive this nightmare. But survival is often louder than reason, and I ran. The undergrowth tore at my legs, branches slapped my face, and still the shadow glided behind me, relentless, patient, as if mocking my panic. Every step was agony, every inhale a knife, but I kept moving. I could see the headlights in the distance, hazy and blurred, salvation just out of reach. And then it lunged. Not with hands, not with claws, but a sudden, impossible speed that closed the space between us. I felt the darkness press against me, not touching, not physical, but real. The world warped, the forest stretched, and for one terrifying second I understood. This wasn't a shadow anymore. It was something else, something that knew me, and I had no choice but to keep running, or let it claim me entirely. Finally, I slammed the cabin door behind me. Heart racing, drenched in sweat, my pulse pounding so hard I could taste metal. I locked the door, once, twice, 3 times before collapsing against it. The silence that followed was deafening. I thought I was safe. The cabin was small but solid, the kind hunters use in the off-season. The walls were thick pine, the air heavy with dust and old smoke. I lit the oil lamp, its flame trembling like my hands. Shadows danced along the walls again, but this time I swore I'd keep my eyes on every corner. I told myself it was just exhaustion, panic, maybe hypoxia from running too hard. Shadows can't follow you. They're nothing but light and angle, right? I said it out loud, over and over, like repetition could turn fear into truth. I checked the window, nothing but trees, stillness. The rain had started to fall, soft, steady, almost soothing. My reflection in the glass looked pale, ghost-like, but at least it was mine. I tried to laugh, to break the tension, but it came out as a shaky cough. Then the lamp flickered, once, twice, and the reflection smiled. Only I wasn't smiling. The grin stretched wider, the same one I'd seen in the forest. My stomach dropped. I stepped back, the lamp rattling in my grip. Outside, lightning flashed just once, and for that split second, I saw it clearly. The silhouette, standing beyond the window, head tilted, grinning that same impossible grin. My body went cold. I stumbled back, knocking over the lamp. It shattered, plunging the room into darkness. The smell of oil filled the air, thick and suffocating. I groped for the matches, but then, there it was again, the faint outline against the window pane. Still, patient, watching. By morning, the storm had passed. The trees looked harmless again. The air smelled clean, like nothing had ever happened. I waited until daylight before stepping outside. The ground was slick, the earth soft from rain. No footprints, no sign of anything. Just my own shadow stretching long behind me. And as I turned toward the car, I could have sworn, just for a heartbeat, it waved. I've never camped alone since, and I never will. Some nights when I can't sleep, I still see them. Shadows that move just a little too fluidly, too deliberately. The kind that seem to know you're watching and enjoy it. I'll catch one stretching across my bedroom wall when the lamp flickers, or sliding just a bit slower than the light allows. And I wonder, do they follow everyone, or just the ones who notice them? I've tried to rationalize it, told myself it was trauma, the afterimage of fear burned into my brain. My therapist called it an overactive imagination coping with unresolved stress. Maybe she's right. But the thing about the dark, it's patient. It waits for your logic to dim, for your eyes to adjust, for your mind to relax, and then it moves. I don't camp anymore. I don't even stay long enough in the dark to let my shadow settle. When I walk at night, I keep my eyes forward. I don't look down, because if I do, I know I'll see it again. That grin, the one that doesn't belong to me. Sometimes, late at night, when the lights are off and the world feels still, I swear I hear it. The faint crackle of that long dead campfire, the whisper of trees leaning in to listen. And I remember that feeling. The air heavy, the silence thick, the certainty that something was standing just outside the light, waiting. Maybe that's the price for seeing what others don't. Maybe once you notice the dark staring back, you can never unsee it. So next time you're out in the woods, alone with a fire, watch the shadows. Smile at them if you must, but don't trust them, because some smiles don't fade when the fire dies. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video. It helps the channel grow and keep stories like this alive. Subscribe for daily storytelling that dives deep into the eerie, the emotional, and the unknown. And if you know someone who loves a good chill down their spine, share this video with them tonight. Thank you for listening and for watching. There's another story waiting for you right now on your screen. Click it if you dare. I'll see you back here tomorrow. In the light, hopefully. The Vanishing Lake. Ever gone somewhere so peaceful that it feels too perfect, only to realize it's hiding something you weren't meant to see? I'll never forget the first time we camped by Crescent Lake, a mirror-smooth mountain lake tucked away from any map. I'm just an ordinary guy, a little too curious for my own good, always chasing moments that make life feel alive. My friends teased me relentlessly for wanting to wake at dawn to swim. "You're gonna catch hypothermia," they joked. But I didn't care. I wanted to touch that untouched stillness, to feel the water's silence wrap around me like a secret. The night was calm, too calm. The stars hung heavy and sharp, like someone had pinned them in place with invisible tacks. The air smelled faintly of pine and something else I couldn't name, a subtle, almost metallic scent that made my skin crawl. I noticed the mist hovering above the lake, curling in ways that didn't make sense, twisting into delicate spirals that seemed deliberate. I told myself it was imagination, or maybe a trick of the wind. Still, it felt like the lake was breathing, alive in a way that didn't belong to nature. Around the fire, my friends laughed, but I kept glancing toward the water. Something was there, or maybe someone. Shapes flitted at the edges of my vision, dissolving whenever I tried to focus. And then there was the whisper. I could swear I heard a faint, dripping sound, like water running somewhere it shouldn't be. My stomach tightened. There was a warning in that silence, a pulse beneath the quiet that made me uneasy, though I couldn't yet name it. Something about Crescent Lake wasn't right. And as dawn pressed against the mountains, pink bleeding into gray, I felt a compulsion I couldn't resist. I had to see it. I had to swim. I had to touch the lake before it changed again. The water, when I reached it, didn't shimmer as it had the night before. It awaited. I wake before sunrise to the gentle sound of splashes. My heart leaps. Someone else is here. But when I peek out of my tent, the lake is gone. Or at least it looks empty. The water's surface shimmers like a sheet of glass, but it doesn't ripple. No birds stir. No fish leap. Even the wind seems hesitant, as though it's afraid to touch the water. Panic mingles with curiosity. I call my friends. Silence. Not a single response. My voice echoes against the trees, strange and hollow. My feet crunch on the frost-kissed earth as I step closer, and the mist coils around my ankles, cold and unnatural, like fingers trying to pull me in. The lake seems to stretch wider than memory, edges fading into fog that refuses to lift. And then I see it, my reflection, or what should be mine. It stares back, but it's wrong. Too sharp, too deliberate. It doesn't mimic my movements. My hand lifts, and it doesn't lift with me. My eyes widen, and it smiles. Not a friendly smile. A knowing, terrifying grin that promises secrets I don't want to know. I stumble back, heart hammering. My breath fogs in the cold air, but the mist around the lake isn't cold. It's alive, watching, waiting. I turn to run, but the forest feels different. Trees twist unnaturally, roots curling like sleeping snakes. Shadows cling to the trunks, sliding sideways when I glance away. Each step I take feels slower, heavier, as if the ground itself is resisting me. My chest tightens, every instinct screams to flee, yet my eyes are locked on the lake, unable to tear away. A sound ripples through the mist, soft like water dripping in a cave, echoing too far, too perfectly. My stomach knots, the silence after it is deafening. I try calling out again, but my voice is swallowed before it reaches the fog. My friends are gone. There's no path back, only the lake and the reflection that doesn't belong to me. I take another step forward, knowing it's a mistake. The mist thickens, and I realize I can't tell where the ground ends and the water begins. The lake isn't just empty. It's hungry, and it knows I've noticed. Then it happens. My reflection moves, no longer bound by the surface, no longer a pale imitation. Its hand pushes through the mist, reaches out, and brushes my arm. I feel it, cold, electric, insistent, pulling me toward the lake's center. My lungs burn, my legs tremble, every muscle screaming to resist, but the force is relentless. It's not water, it's something alive, something that knows me better than I know myself. Panic claws at my chest. My heartbeat drums in my ears, deafening. The mist swirls violently now, curling around my ankles, climbing my knees, as though the lake itself is trying to drag me under. The reflection's grin widens, stretching impossibly, eyes glinting with amusement and malice at once. I realize with a surge of dread that this is no accident. The lake has been waiting, watching, and it doesn't let go of what it wants. I stumble backward, fighting the pull. My fingers scrape against wet earth, roots wrap around my boots, trying to hold me in place. Each second stretches into eternity. The reflection leans closer, whispering a soundless promise that twists my stomach into knots. If I let go, if I reach for it, I don't know what waits on the other side. Then something inside me snaps. Fear turns to fury. I break eye contact, wrench my body around and run. Branches whip at my face, sharp and relentless. Roots snag my ankles, sending me sprawling again and again. The mist roars around me, thick and suffocating, but I don't stop. Every ounce of me is driven by the desperate, primal need to survive. I glance back and the reflection is still there, arms outstretched, smiling, mocking me. But it doesn't move. Only I move. My lungs burn, legs scream, but I push harder, faster. The lake behind me shimmers unnaturally, as if it knows I've escaped, for now. The trees bend away from the mist, guiding me, or perhaps mocking my struggle. I break free from the last clinging shadows, collapsing near the tents, gasping, shaking, drenched in sweat and fear. The reflection disappears back into the water, or maybe into nothing. But I know the lake hasn't forgotten me. It waits. It always waits. And I will never see the world the same way again. I reach the campsite, chest heaving, legs trembling. The fire's ashes are cold, the tent sagging as if weighed down by absence. My friends gone, every last one of them. Not a trace beyond their scattered belongings. Backpacks tipped over, water bottles rolling, shoes abandoned mid-step. It's as if they vanished into thin air, leaving the world untouched but somehow emptier. My hands shake as I stumble over to the nearest tent, calling their names, my voice cracking with panic. Silence answers me, thick and unyielding. I dig out my phone, fingers numb, and call the authorities, my words tumbling over themselves. I tell them everything, the lake, the mist, the reflection, the grin. They listen politely, with the practiced patience of people who deal with the unexplainable only in reports and statistics. When they finally arrive, I lead them to Crescent Lake. And there it is, serene and flawless, stretching beneath the morning sun exactly as if nothing had ever happened. No splashes, no mist, no grin, just water, perfectly still, reflecting the sky. I walk the perimeter with them, pointing to where I saw it all unfold. The officers exchange glances, nodding, taking notes, their expressions carefully neutral. They call it a missing persons case, and unverified witness accounts. They assure me that searches will continue, that investigations follow strict procedure, but I know they will never find them. The lake keeps its secrets better than any human ever could. I leave that place alone, dragging my steps through the forest one last time. The shadows don't reach for me anymore. The roots no longer trip me, but the memory refuses to loosen its grip. Every time I close my eyes, I see that grin, stretching wider than nature allows. Every lake I pass in the years since feels wrong, too still, too perfect, as if something watches just beneath the surface, waiting for the curious, the foolhardy, the reckless. I try to tell myself it was a dream, an echo of overactive imagination, but deep down, I know the truth. Some waters do not forgive, some reflections are not reflections at all, and some lakes never forget. Even now, years later, when I walk by a quiet stretch of water, I feel it. That pull, faint but insistent, calling me back to Crescent Lake, to the smile that never leaves. Sometimes I wonder, was it ever really a lake at all? Or was it something else entirely? A mirror reflecting not just my face, but the parts of myself I refused to confront. The courage I thought I had, the fears I thought I could outrun, the curiosity that almost cost me everything. I'll never go back, but part of me knows Crescent Lake is still there, hidden behind the mountains, shrouded in mist, waiting for someone reckless enough to look too closely, to reach out when they shouldn't. I can feel its presence in the back of my mind even now, years later. A reminder that some places, some reflections, keep secrets that no one should ever uncover. I've changed, though maybe not in the way people expect. I don't chase curiosity blindly anymore. I've learned to respect the unknown, to listen when the world warns me through silence and stillness. But some nights when the wind shifts and the trees groan, I swear I feel it again. The pull of the water, faint and insistent, like a heartbeat I can't outrun. And yet part of me can't forget the thrill, the terror, the raw clarity of standing at the edge of something alive and entirely incomprehensible. It has left a mark, a shadow that follows me even in the brightest day. The lake showed me that fear and wonder are two sides of the same coin, and sometimes curiosity is more dangerous than courage. So I ask you, as you sit there watching this, listening to my story, have you ever seen something so wrong, so impossible, that it made you question everything around you and yourself? Think carefully before you answer, because some reflections, like some lakes, never let you go once you notice them. If you found yourself drawn into this story, remember to like the video. It really helps the channel grow and brings more stories like this your way. Subscribe for daily content and share this with someone who loves the thrill of the unknown. We've handpicked another chilling tale for you right here on your screen. Watch it, and I'll see you back tomorrow for more stories that linger long after the lights go out. Whispers in the Pines. I thought camping alone in the woods would be peaceful, a quiet escape from the city's roar. Just me, a worn backpack, and a promise of silence. I was wrong. So, very wrong. I'm no survivalist, just an ordinary city dweller craving solitude, craving air that wasn't tainted with exhaust fumes or sirens. I set out early, driving past the last trace of pavement until the road gave way to dirt and shadowed trails. The forest swallowed my car like it had been waiting all along. Pine needles crunched underfoot, damp earth smelled of decay and life, and the wind carried a strange chill that seemed heavier than it should be for October. By dusk, I pitched my tent near a clearing, where the trees were thick enough to feel private, but thin enough to see the last sliver of sun vanish behind the ridges. I built a fire, sparks hissing into the dark, the orange light swallowing the clearing. It felt perfect, too perfect maybe. That's when I noticed the little things. A breeze moved through the pines, soft, almost deliberate, carrying whispers that weren't quite the wind. My fire flickered, shadows stretching longer than they should, like the forest itself was leaning in, watching me. My name, or what sounded like it, danced in the rustling needles. I laughed it off. I had to. There was nothing here but me and the trees, nothing that could speak. But as I sat by the fire, the shadows seemed to pulse, and the whispers, always just on the edge of hearing, kept coming, teasing my mind. Every crack of a branch, every snap of pine needles felt like a footstep. I told myself it was the woods, the wind, maybe even nerves. Yet deep down, I knew something had noticed me, something that didn't belong, that shouldn't exist in the quiet, pristine forest I thought I'd conquered. I should have left then. I didn't. At first, I laughed. It's just the wind, I told myself, poking at the fire with a stick like some kind of defiant caveman. But then I heard it again, softer this time, taunting, like a whisper crawling along the edge of my sanity. David. My blood ran cold. The sound came from somewhere beyond the tree line, low and hushed, as though someone stood just far enough to stay unseen. I froze, listening. Nothing, just the forest breathing. But when I leaned closer, the whisper came again, more distinct, more human. I grabbed my flashlight and swung it toward the pines. The beam sliced through the darkness, illuminating only trunks and fog, thick, pale fog that hadn't been there before. My pulse hammered in my throat. I wanted to call out, to tell whoever or whatever it was to stop messing around, but my voice caught in my chest. Every logical part of me screamed, "It's the wind, you idiot." But there was something else now. Footsteps, slow, deliberate crunches in the pine needles, moving in a wide circle around my camp. I tried to calm down, zipped up the tent, told myself I'd laugh about this in the morning, but the forest had gone quiet, unnaturally quiet. No crickets, no wind, no sound but my own breathing. Then something brushed against the side of my tent, light, like a hand dragging over fabric. I shot upright, holding my flashlight like a weapon, scanning the walls. Silence, and then whispers. Not one voice this time, but several. Low, overlapping like a crowd murmuring in prayer. I pressed my ear against the tent wall, my heart thudding so hard I could barely hear over it. The whispers grew louder, faster. I could make out words. broken fragments, but ones I knew. They were my words, private thoughts, regrets, things I'd never said out loud. I burst out of the tent, flashlight trembling in my hand, sweeping the clearing. No one, nothing. But the air was colder now. My breath fogged like smoke. And on the ground near the fire pit, pine needles had been disturbed, traced into a shape, a crude spiral. The forest held its breath, and for the first time that night, I realized I wasn't imagining this. Something was out there, and it knew my name. I ran without looking back. Branches tore at my arms, my lungs burned. But the whispers, they weren't behind me anymore. They were inside my head, laughing, mocking, twisting my thoughts into shapes I didn't recognize. It started just after I saw them. They stepped from the tree line without sound, 5, maybe 6 of them, hooded in shadow, their faces hidden, their movements wrong, too fluid. They circled the fire like ghosts rehearsing a ritual. The flames bent toward them, like the fire itself wanted to listen. And then they began to speak. Not in words I could understand at first, just low murmurs that made the air hum, made my teeth ache. But as I strained to listen, the words shifted. They became familiar. I heard my father's voice, then my mother's, then mine. They were whispering moments I'd buried, things I'd done, said, thought, things no one else could know. They whispered about the girl I loved and lost, the lie I told that ended it, the guilt I'd carried ever since. I tried to shout, to drown them out, but the sound died in my throat. My flashlight flickered and died, swallowed by darkness. Only the firelight remained, casting their shadows longer, taller, impossibly tall, until they seemed to stretch up into the treetops. One of them turned its head toward me. Slowly, the hood slipped back just enough for me to see what waited underneath. It wasn't a face. It was me, pale, hollow-eyed, lips moving in sync with the whisper I'd been hearing all night. My knees went weak. I stumbled backward, tripping over the tent ropes. That's when I knew I had to run. If I stayed, they'd take me, or worse, become me. So I ran. The forest came alive, roots snaring my feet, branches clawing at my clothes, every tree seeming to lean closer, whispering my name in that same warped voice. David, come back. We're not done yet. The spiral symbol burned behind my eyes, glowing on the forest floor as though seared into the earth itself. My chest felt like it would explode. The whispers grew to screams, mine and theirs, blending until I couldn't tell which belonged to me anymore. And just as I thought I'd escaped, the forest stopped whispering. It started calling. Morning came, and the forest was still. Pale light filtered through the pine needles, painting the ground in soft gold, but the beauty did nothing to soothe me. I collapsed near a shallow stream, gasping, limbs shaking, skin scratched raw by branches. Mud clung to me, freezing in the chill of dawn. I thought for a fleeting moment that I had survived, but survival didn't feel like victory. My tent sat perfectly intact, nothing disturbed except for the items I had counted on. My lighter, my compass, gone. Small things, yet essential, items only I carried. And just like that, the forest reminded me. It knew me, it had watched me, and it wasn't done. I stumbled to my feet, scanning the clearing. The spiral was gone, no trace left but an unsettling residue in the soil, like a memory burned into the earth itself. I called out, my voice hoarse, a brittle sound swallowed instantly by the trees. Nothing answered except silence, but I felt it. Eyes following me from every shadow, from every bend in the forest floor. As I limped along the stream, I noticed subtle signs of the night's chaos. A branch snapped slightly underfoot, though nothing moved. Rocks that hadn't been there yesterday now lined the water's edge, arranged as if marking a path I couldn't or shouldn't follow. My pulse remained erratic, each beat echoing in my ears, reminding me that I had been seen, tested, and chosen. I wanted to rationalize, tell myself it had been a hallucination, exhaustion playing tricks. But then I remembered the whispers, the personal secrets, the distorted faces, the voice that was mine yet not mine. My head spun at the memory. This forest didn't just hide dangers. It learned, it waited, and it knew. I sat by the stream, hands trembling in the cold water, realizing the truth. I had escaped the night, yes, but I hadn't escaped the forest itself. The whispering had paused, but it hadn't stopped. I felt its patience, a lingering presence pressing just beyond the edges of perception. I was alone, yet not alone. And I knew, deep down, that something that had tasted my fear and learned my name, was still out there, watching, waiting, and it wasn't finished with me. I survived the night, but I didn't escape. The forest keeps secrets, and sometimes it keeps you too. Dawn had broken, and the sunlight made everything look ordinary, deceptively peaceful. Birds chirped, the stream gurgled. The world had returned to its familiar rhythm, but I hadn't. I walked back to where I had parked my car, every step heavy with exhaustion and disbelief. My backpack felt lighter, some things missing, some things changed. Like the forest had taken what it needed and left me just enough to tell the tale. I glanced back over my shoulder, half expecting the shadows to peel themselves from the trees to emerge and claim me. But there was only light, and yet, a part of me knew better. I could still feel the weight of those eyes, the echoes of voices that weren't meant to be heard. The faint imprint of that spiral burned into my memory. I would think I was safe in the city again, among the noise and the crowd, and yet the whispers would return in the dead of night, soft, teasing, intimate. Sometimes solitude isn't freedom, it's exposure. The forest had shown me that, and I had learned it the hard way. I had wanted peace, wanted silence, but instead I found something older, something patient, something that could wait decades to reveal itself. I survived, yes, but the forest didn't lose. It never loses. It only waits. And somewhere out there, beneath the towering pines and the endless needles, it watches, it listens, it whispers. And if you ever find yourself alone in the woods, you might think you're the one observing. But the truth, you're the one being observed. Thank you for listening. If this story sent a chill down your spine, consider liking the video to support the channel and help it reach more curious minds. Subscribe for daily content that delves into mystery, suspense, and the unknown, and share this video with someone who appreciates a story that lingers long after the screen goes dark. Another video is recommended on your screen now. Go ahead, watch it, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. And tonight, if you listen closely, maybe you'll hear it too, whispering your name.